I remember the way the cold air felt against my skin when I stepped off that bus. 8 months away. 8 months of dust, diesel fumes, and the kind of silence that comes when you're too tired to even speak. Work had taken me overseas. Long contracts in remote places where days blurred and weeks evaporated. We'd talked, of course, video calls when the internet allowed, short texts when it didn't. She always said she missed me. Always ended with, "Come home safe." The day I came back, I didn't tell her. I wanted it to be a surprise. I'd pictured walking through the door, seeing her face light up, feeling her arms around me again. I'd imagined the smell of her shampoo, the familiar clutter of our kitchen counter, the way her voice softened when she called me by the nickname only she used. But when I walked in, the house didn't smell like home. It smelled new, different, like fresh paint and a candle I'd never known her to buy. The living room was cleaner than usual, almost staged. And when she came down the hallway, she wasn't just surprised, she froze. "Mark," she said, one hand gripping the doorframe, the other resting low on her stomach. I dropped my duffel bag. "Hey, surprise." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You're back early." It was then that I saw it. Not just the way she held herself, but the curve, slight, but undeniable. My wife was pregnant. I laughed at first, a shocked kind of laugh, stepping forward. "You're?" She nodded slowly, almost cautiously. "Yes, I was going to tell you." I didn't do the math right away. My mind went to hope before it went to suspicion. I pulled her close, and she stiffened just for a second before letting me hug her. "When?" I asked. "About 4 months along," she said, looking past me, over my shoulder. "For months. I'd been gone for 8. The math was cruel. It did itself, without my permission, burning through the haze of jet lag and longing. My arms loosened. "For months." Her gaze snapped back to mine. "It's yours, Mark. I swear it's yours." I must have gotten the dates wrong, but her voice was rushing now, tripping over itself, the way it did when she was cornered. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But a part of me, the part that had counted the weeks of my absence like prison bars, felt the first deep crack form inside. We sat at the kitchen table that night, the same table we'd eaten 1,000 dinners at, and went in circles. She kept insisting, swearing she'd never betray me, that she'd miscalculated. I listened, nodded, tried to catch any slip in her words. But she was steady, too steady. I told myself to give it time. Let the truth come out naturally. I bought into that hope for exactly 3 days. Then, during a doctor's appointment she insisted I join, the nurse mentioned the due date. It didn't just miss my last night at home, it missed it by a mile. When I confronted her in the parking lot, she didn't cry. She got angry. "You don't trust me," she said, voice sharp, arms crossed over that small swell of her stomach. "I want to," I told her, "but I need the truth." That was when I brought up the DNA test. "Just to settle my mind," I said. She agreed too quickly, almost like she thought it would shut me up for good. But in the pit of my stomach, something told me it wouldn't. Something told me that the moment those results came back, my life was going to split into a before and an after. I just didn't know yet how deep that cut would go. When the envelope came, it was thinner than I'd expected. Just a single page, folded once. My hands shook a little as I opened it, partly from the cold, partly from the kind of dread you feel when you already know the answer but still pray you're wrong. Probability of paternity, 0%. I stared at that line until the words seemed to blur into the paper. 0. Not 99. Not even 50. 0. She was in the living room when I walked in, her legs tucked under her, a blanket around her shoulders. The TV was on, but she wasn't watching it. She must have read my face before I even spoke, because her eyes dropped immediately to the floor. "It's not mine," I said quietly. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Just a long exhale, shaky and uneven. "Who?" My voice was calmer than I felt. I'd imagined myself shouting if this moment ever came, but there was no fire in me, just a kind of hollow, settling weight. She shook her head. "It doesn't matter." "It matters to me," I said. For a long time, she didn't answer. Then, in a voice so low I almost missed it, she said his name. It wasn't someone I knew well, just a guy from her office I'd met once at a Christmas party. The kind who laughed too loud at his own jokes. The kind I'd never considered a threat. She started talking then, about loneliness, about needing someone while I was gone, about how it just happened, and she panicked when she realized she was pregnant. She swore it was a mistake, that she still loved me, that she wanted to fix this. I listened, but the words felt far away, muffled, like I was underwater. I kept seeing the image of that nurse casually mentioning the due date, the way my wife's hand had instinctively moved to her belly in that exact moment. When she finally stopped, I said the only thing I knew to be true: we can't come back from this. Her face crumpled, and for a moment I saw the woman I'd fallen in love with, the one who used to wait up for me no matter how late I got home, the one who knew all my favorite songs by heart. But the space between us now wasn't measured in miles or months. It was in trust, and trust doesn't grow back once it's burned to ash. That night, I packed a bag, just the essentials. She didn't try to stop me. She didn't even stand up. As I closed the door behind me, I realized the hardest part wasn't losing her. It was losing the version of myself who had believed her without question. I stayed in a cheap motel on the edge of town for the first week, the kind of place where the walls are thin enough to hear your neighbor's TV and the ice machine groans like it's dying. The room smelled faintly of cigarette smoke, even though the sign on the door swore it was non-smoking. But I didn't care. I wasn't there for comfort. I was there because I couldn't face the empty house. Or worse, the house with her still in it. The first few days, I kept my phone on silent, letting her calls stack up. 32 in total. The voicemails shifted in tone, first pleading, then angry, then desperate. I didn't listen to all of them. I couldn't. On the fourth night, I finally called my brother. I hadn't told him anything yet. He answered on the second ring, his voice light at first, then quiet when he heard mine. I told him everything, from the moment I walked through the door to the envelope in my hand. He didn't interrupt. When I was done, there was a pause before he said, "You're not going back, are you?" "No," I said. The word felt heavy but certain. After we hung up, I started making lists: what needed canceling, what needed moving, what needed selling. The marriage was already over. Now I just had to dismantle the life around it. A lawyer friend of my brother's agreed to meet me for coffee. She didn't sugarcoat it. "With the DNA results, you're clear of any legal responsibility for the child," she said. "But she may still try to push for spousal support, depending on your income." That night, I drove past the house. The living room light was on. Through the curtains, I saw her sitting on the couch, staring at nothing. I didn't stop. I just kept driving, the image of her framed in that yellow light fading in my rearview mirror. Weeks passed. Papers were signed. The process was clinical, impersonal, names on forms, signatures on dotted lines. No more long talks at the kitchen table, no more pleading. Just silence between us, except for the moments when legal necessity forced us into the same room. The last time I saw her was in the courthouse hallway. She looked smaller somehow, her shoulders rounded in a way I'd never seen before. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something, but the clerk called my name, and I walked past without waiting to hear it. Stepping outside, the air felt sharper, cleaner. And for the first time in months, I realized I wasn't holding my breath anymore.